I hope you guys enjoyed the joke that I kind of came up with Katie's help. Yeah. Alright, so growing up, my family wasn't really religious, and even though we went to church when I was 6, we stopped going to church after I moved. And there were also times when my friends would invite me to church, but I would either, say I have other stuff to do, or I would go and feel really awkward around the people that were there. And during high school, most of my friends were atheists, so what we valued the most was intelligence instead of religious beliefs. And coming into college, I was just so sure that I would not be interested in anything religious. And at the start of freshman year, I met Sarah Park, who invited me to a lot of AIB events. And at the time, I didn't really think much about it because I was atheist, and I was like, oh, religion, that doesn't really relate to me, so I didn't really go to any of them. But she kept inviting me to them, and she kept going every week, so I started to wonder, okay, what's so interesting about these events that made her go? And eventually I went to Cindy's small group, and I don't really know what I was expecting there, but when I showed up, it kind of reminded me of English class, because we were just color marking a passage. And after that, I was just like, maybe I should focus on my studies. But things started to turn for the worse, I guess, because I would not really want to go to classes because I felt like I would know the material already, and the weather started getting really cold outside, so I was like, oh, my room is so warm, I don't want to leave. And towards the end of freshman year, I started feeling really depressed because I wouldn't really have a chance to talk to anyone, and even when I did, I wouldn't know what to say. And I'd also feel really stressed out about finals and grades and not knowing what to do with my life even after college. But despite all this, I kept thinking, this can't be what life is meant to be, because why are we trying so hard? Why are we trying to get good grades? Is it because we want a job? Or what exactly would getting good grades accomplish? So, I guess even amidst the depression, I thought I shouldn't give up hope, because things will get better, because I'm not alone, because there's always going to be someone that cares about you. And even though I felt so stressed at that time, I suddenly felt really peaceful, because at that moment I could see everything clearly, and I put everything in perspective, because really everything that goes on during freshman year, it's pretty insignificant compared to the rest of your life, or compared to many other people's lives that have already occurred before you, I guess. And no matter what happened, I was still going to live another day, and I was still going to make the most of what I had. And it was times like that, like self-reflection and just going over what my worldview was, that made me think maybe there's something out there, maybe there's a divine being that cared about my little insignificant life. And I tried to be more open-minded later, because looking back, I think that I was really sure that I knew what I was doing. Like, oh, I had this plan laid out for me. I was going to, take all these classes, and I could make my own decisions. And during freshman year was also like getting home, because I live in Florida. So I had to take a flight from this really obscure airport in Elmira, which is like an hour away from Ithaca. And the taxi came about an hour before the plane was supposed to leave, even though I asked for it to come 2 hours before. And by the time we got to the airport, it was about like a minute before the flight was supposed to leave. And I realized I didn't have my boarding pass and I didn't check it yet. And I was just like trying to run around and trying to ask someone for help. And I ended up standing in a corner somewhere and just thinking, oh no, I'm going to spend the night in the airport. I don't know how to get home. I have to wait till the next flight, which is like tomorrow morning. So, you know, I thought to myself, somebody help me. There's got to be something out there. Someone just please help me get home. So I looked up and I saw someone like approaching me. So they looked kind of official because they were wearing uniforms. So I was like, that's weird. And then I talked to them and they're like, okay, so we'll get everything sorted out and we'll get you checked in and you're going to be fine. So I delayed the flight by an hour, but I still made it home. After that, I also thought to myself, like, maybe I should keep an open mind from now on. Maybe what I thought I knew about everything isn't really it. Maybe I should just go out there and try to get to know more about Christianity, and try to find out what it really meant for everyone else. And so then second semester started, and I went to a few more AIB events, and I also went to a baptism where I asked a senior named Cece to become my guppy, and she really helped me understand why she was a Christian and what it really meant to believe in the gospel. But like, even though I had someone there explaining things to me, I still didn't really understand what the gospel was until at the end of the year, where a lot of people from the AIB went to this retreat called Basileia. And during Basileia, we would have about an hour quiet time in the morning. It just really gave me time to think about what I learned that day. And sometimes I would just have these questions pop up in my mind. Later in the day, someone would just happen to say something and it would answer one of those questions. And even during quiet times, I would start feeling kind of uneasy, like there's something that I wanted to do, but I couldn't, and I didn't really understand why I would feel that way. But after a while, I realized it was because I was scared and I had doubts. And even after hearing all these things about the gospel, I still had a few questions. So, later that day, I met someone who told me, like, you realize it's okay to doubt and to question things, right? Because if we just accepted everything we were told, how are we supposed to separate the truths from the lies, or the good from the bad? And the only way I could describe what happened at Basileia would be to say that it was kind of God working in all of us and trying to help us understand Him more. And so sometimes, like before, I would hear a story about like Jesus washing His disciples' feet, and I'd be like, okay, well, why would He do that? Why would you want to touch someone else's feet? And our feet kind of gross at that time. You're walking around in sandals all day, and they're people started crying around me. And I went up to someone and I asked them, why are you crying? And she said, it's because it was really humbling to know that someone would love us so much, to do a job that even the lowest slaves couldn't do sometimes, or didn't want to do. That we really had someone who would love us so much that Jesus would love us enough to do this for us, to suffer for us and die for us. And that was when I finally understood exactly how much God loves us, and I started to believe that, you know, everything I was hearing, everything I was learning about was real. And one night, when Sarah asked me if I wanted to become a Christian in class, I said yes. And even though before, like during the day, I was like still worried about something, I was still stressed, but at that moment, I realized, wow, I'm finally at peace. I'm finally so happy to get this off my chest. And I felt my fears and uneasiness disappear. But possibly it was just the beginning, and even during the summer, like about a week after I got home, my friend invited me to church, and she told me, like, oh, there's a small group happening on Monday, would you like to come? And it was just really surprising to know that God is still trying to bring us together. And that even when something happens that might not seem so significant, God is still at work, and He's still trying to help us grow. Maybe not in the way we want, but in the way that we need.